Welcome back, everyone. Today's summary tells the story of a young man who, after getting out of prison, tries to rebuild his life but ends up in a relationship with a married woman that turns into talk about killing her husband. Will he end up back in prison? Let's find out. The movie starts with a guy named Kevin, who's heading to the beach. There, he meets Marlene for the first time, and they start talking. He finds out she's married and likes coming to this place to escape all her problems. When she asks about his job, he tells her he works at a big library and that he loves books and is really into reading. She tells him she has to go, but he asks her to stay a little longer so they can talk. Marlene apologizes and says she really has to leave. A few days later, Kevin is at work in the library when Marlene shows up again, asking for his help finding a book that suits her. He's happy to see her again and asks how she's doing. She says she's fine, but Kevin notices she's wearing sunglasses to hide an injury in her eye. He realizes her husband probably hit her. He tries to comfort her and talks with her for a bit, until his manager calls him back to work. Kevin tells her he wishes they could talk longer, but unfortunately, he's got things to do. He helps her find the book she's looking for and shows her a few options to pick from. Then he says he has to get back before his manager gets upset. But Marlene stops him and says she also wished they had more time to talk. They open up to each other, and it's clear there's a mutual attraction between them. After she picks out the books she likes, Marlene thanks Kevin and hands him $1. At first, he thinks it's just a tip and doesn't want to take it. But then he realizes she wrote her number on it. That's why she gave it to him. A few days later, we see Kevin going to meet with an officer named Jack. He's running late, and we find out that Kevin had recently gotten out of prison and that this officer checks in with him from time to time as part of his supervision. The next day, Kevin calls Marlene. She's happy he remembered her and called. He tells her he wants to see her, but she apologizes and says she's busy right now because she's at home with her husband's daughter, Strid. She has to stay with her since her boyfriend is over. Kevin feels disappointed he can't see her, but then Marlene tells him she wants to see him too and promises they'll meet up soon. A week later, Kevin is at work talking to his coworker Kim, who clearly has a crush on him. She asks what he's doing after work. He says he doesn't have any specific plans, but will probably go for a run like he usually does. She tells him she likes running too and suggests they meet up sometime to run together. Kevin feels like he has no choice but to agree. Right then, Marlene walks into the library with Strid. She notices Kevin's reaction the moment he sees her and clearly senses jealousy. Kevin goes over to help them, feeling like Marlene came just to see him. Strid tells him she's looking for a specific book for a school project. He says that book is on the lower level and offers to take her there, but Strid tells Marlene she wants to browse for a few more books and lets Marlene go down with him instead. Downstairs, Kevin shows her around and explains that this section is for old or rarely used books. He searches for Strid's book and eventually finds it. Marlene thanks him, but he says he's just doing his job and it's no big deal. Then she tells him she's not thanking him for the job, but for showing up in her life. Marlene gets close to him and confesses that she loves him. A few days later, Kevin is with his friend Kim, who tells him she saw Marlene walking with an older man. She says the guy is super rich and tries to make Kevin hate her, claiming Marlene must have married the guy for his money. But Kevin doesn't care about what she says and walks away. The next day, Kevin goes to meet Marlene at the beach. He tells her how happy he is that she called. Marlene brings up Kim and says she noticed how interested she was in him back at the library. Kevin tells her he's not into Kim at all and that ever since he met Marlene, he hasn't thought about anyone else. She loves hearing that, and they spend some quality time together by the ocean. They talk about her husband and his daughter, Strid. Marlene tells him she hates her husband because he always treats Strid badly and even hits her whenever she defends the girl. Kevin gets angry and tells her she needs to do something, either leave him or go to the police. But Marlene says it's not that simple and that the police wouldn't even care about her situation. After that, Marlene asks Kevin about his life, and he tells her that he was recently in prison and just got out not long ago. When she asks what happened, He explains that he was defending a young girl who was being attacked by an older man. He tried to keep the man away from her and got into a fight with him. But later, he found out that the man was important in town, which caused Kevin to end up in jail because of the man's influence. Marlene keeps talking to him to help him forget about it and to comfort him. Then they spend some time together. Later, they get ready to leave, and Marlene tells him she'll try to see him again soon. When Kevin puts his hand in his pocket, he realizes a medal that's very special to him has fallen out. Marlene offers to help him look for it, but he says he'll do it himself. He tells her she has to leave so she won't be late because if she's late, it could cause her trouble, and her husband might hit her. A week later, we see Kevin out running as usual, and suddenly his phone rings. He gets really happy when he sees it's Marlene calling. The next day, he rides with her in her car, and they start talking. Kevin senses she's upset about something, so he asks what's bothering her. She tells him things are getting worse between her and her husband and says they might not get to see each other again. Kevin gets really upset and struggles to speak. He tells her their story can't end like that, and that she has to find a solution, even if it means risking their lives. Marlene apologizes for putting him in such a difficult situation and says she has to leave. Kevin gets out of the car and lets her go. A few weeks later, Kevin is walking with Kim, and they're heading back from work when they run into Marlene by chance. She's sitting with Strid and her boyfriend, and they're talking. Kevin asks Strid about the book he brought her and if it helped with her research. She thanks him a lot and says he really helped her. Then Kim says she has to leave so she won't be late. Kevin stays a bit longer to talk to Marlene. She asks him about a book that tells the story of a woman who killed her husband. He wonders if she's planning to do the same to live with him. She tells him about the book's story and admits she was happy hearing it. Then Kevin leaves. That same day, Kevin is sitting when his phone rings. It's Marlene calling. When he answers, she tells him seeing him was hard for her and that she couldn't express how much she missed him. He says he missed her too and that they have to find a way out of the situation they're in. He tells her he's ready to do anything for her, even what she talked about that morning regarding the book. She says she's ready to take that step with him to get rid of her husband and live their lives normally. The next day, they meet and discuss the details of the crime they plan to commit. Marlene says the best place to kill him is at his house because no one guards it and there are no alarm systems. She also mentions he always keeps a gun under his pillow. Kevin hesitates a bit and asks if she's doing this because she's after his money. She gets upset and tells him all his money is actually set up for his daughter and that she won't get any of it. She just wants to end the suffering she's living through. He apologizes and assures her he'll handle it himself, then stay with her and make up for all she's missed. She thanks him for being in her life and leans in to hug him. Before leaving, Kevin sits with her in the car and tells her they should avoid talking for a while so no one gets suspicious. He asks her that if anyone asks about him, or their past calls, she should say she was just asking about books and stuff. Then Marlene tells him the best time for him to enter the house and how to get in to kill the husband. Kevin warns her not to call him no matter what happens and asks her to send him a message with their secret password if anything goes wrong. They agree the password will be the word book. He tells her that if things go really bad, she should send it, and he'll come to the house to save her no matter what. Marlene thanks Kevin for everything he's doing for her, and then he leaves. When Kevin arrives at the house, Officer Jack is waiting for him with another cop. Kevin feels scared, thinking someone might know about his plan with Marlene and doesn't know how to react or what to say. Fortunately, they're not there for that. They came to question him about a series of recent home burglaries and assaults, wanting to make sure he's not involved. Kevin proves his innocence by explaining how he spends his time and with whom, and they believe him. A few days later, Kevin is sitting with Kim, who finally decides to confess her love to him. But Kevin has to turn her down and tells her there's someone else in his life. Kim feels hurt and embarrassed and leaves angry. That same night, Kevin goes to Marlene's husband's house to kill him. We learn he met with Kim earlier as an alibi to prove he was busy that day and had nothing to do with the crime. He enters the house wearing a mask and quietly heads to the husband's room. But he's surprised to find the man talking on the phone with his daughter and not fully aware. Kevin takes advantage of the moment and moves into attack, but unfortunately, he makes a noise as he gets closer. The husband wakes up and starts running away. Kevin chases him, and the husband reaches the gun under his pillow, grabs it, and points it at Kevin, threatening him with the weapon. But suddenly, someone appeared from behind and hit him on the head with a sharp weapon, killing him to save Kevin. Kevin then grabbed the gun and threatened that person, telling him to take off his mask so he could see who he was. It turned out to be Strid's boyfriend. When Kevin asked what he was doing there, the guy said he came to rob the place, just like he always does. Kevin was really confused and didn't understand what was going on, but he thought he had to kill him so there wouldn't be any witnesses. And he did. After that, Kevin realized his neck was injured from the struggle and he felt really sick, worried he might have left blood at the crime scene. He quickly left the place, very upset about what he'd done, and started breaking everything around him. When he got home, he was in a bad state, and Marlene called him. He ignored the call and told her he asked her not to contact him so he wouldn't get involved in what happened. He said she made a huge mistake. Marlene said she just wanted to check on him and find out what happened. Kevin snapped at her, very annoyed, because he was still overwhelmed by the whole situation. She tried to calm him down and told him everything would be okay, but he didn't listen. He asked what Strid was doing there. Marlene was surprised and said she didn't know anything about it and that it was probably just a coincidence. Kevin told her everything in detail. He explained that he didn't kill her husband but killed Strid's boyfriend because he had to. Marlene got upset but eventually accepted the reality. She said the important thing is that they get to spend their lives together. She told him she loved him very much, and he said he loved her too. He asked her not to call him again unless she sent the secret message they agreed on if something dangerous happened. Then he hung up. From that day on, Kevin tried to live a normal life, but he was still affected by everything that happened. One night, he went out to eat and saw Kim with her new boyfriend. Kim refused to say hi to him. Kevin felt he made a lot of mistakes and regretted everything he'd done. Another day, he was at home watching TV when he got a message from Marlene with the word book. He knew something serious had happened to her, so he quickly got dressed and rushed out to help. But when he stepped outside, the police were waiting for him. They already knew when he'd leave the house. Kevin told them he was just going out for a run but looked nervous. Officer Jack told him they knew everything, that there was blood at the crime scene matching his, and that money and jewelry had been stolen from the house. The police also found out Kevin was involved with the second criminal who died. Kevin sensed something was wrong but pretended to surrender. Suddenly, he hit the officer and ran away. Luckily, he managed to get away. He decided to go to the place where he usually met Marlene, but again, the police were waiting for him there. Kevin asked how they knew his location. The officer said someone had called them and told them about it. Kevin's suspicion grew when he learned the missing medal was found at the crime scene. He realized Marlene had planned everything and that he was just a tool for her to get rid of her husband. Then his phone rang, but he warned the officer not to let him reach into his pocket because he might pull out a gun. Still, Kevin had to answer. As soon as he put his hand in his pocket, the police opened fire, and he died instantly. After a while, we see Marlene living with Strid, and it turns out both of them were using their partners to get what they wanted and killed Marlene's husband and Strid's father at the same time. And that's how the movie ends. Don't forget, if you liked it, hit like and tell us what you think in the comments.